From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
All right, time once again for Up Close and Personal here at Tommy Max, of course, at my bar, and brought to you by our good friends at the Heritage Capital Group and at Farther. This one is going to be a fun one. I always love talking ball, you know that, but now we're talking fighting too. Former Jaguar legend, current UFC fighter, Austen Lane is here, and so is Coach Dave Campo. Austin, how are you?
How we doing, man? Good to see you.
To the show.
Hey, thanks for free beer, man. I couldn't turn that down, so cheers, man, to that. I appreciate it. I'm doing fantastic. Life is fantastic.
Good. You're still in the UFC game, bro.
Still in the UFC doing the thing. You know, it was a pretty easy transition from the NFL for 5 years and then going to the UFC. It's because of my next chapter in my journey.
Did you, we always, not like a fighter in the streets, but knew how to kind of do these things? Were you a wrestler? Like, how did you jump from
I grew up doing karate a little bit of taekwondo, but actually I didn't really get fully fledged in MMA until it would have been my second year here in Jacksonville.
Okay.
I had a defensive line coach by the name of Joe Cullen.
Yeah.
Said that I should go to an MMA gym or a boxing gym to work my hand speed. You know, being defensive end, hands, hips, it's everything, right? Yeah. So went to an MMA gym, started boxing some people, started doing some jiu-jitsu, fell in love with it, and the rest is history.
Bulldog? Is that where you train still?
Yes, yep,
okay.
Bulldog boxing.
That's a local place.
It is a local place, yes.
Coach Campo's here. Hey, Coach.
Hey, Tom, good.
You don't want to mess with this guy.
Well, listen,
I can't even say
I'm disappointed. I'll tell you why I'm disappointed, because I left the Jaguars before this guy got there. If you're tough enough to go into MMA, I want him on my ball club. I can guarantee you that.
Amen to that.
No doubt. And I don't know if you know this, but you told me this at Jaguar event. Yeah. Your wife's a doctor.
Yes.
And she's got to stitch you up from time to time.
Yeah, so it is quite the relationship that we have. You know, and basically I do the hurting the people, and then she helps them out again. You know, so I'm saying, so it's quite the relationship that we have. Yes.
Well, you were telling me sometimes during training you do get caught, right? You break your nose, you get a cut.
Yeah.
And you can't show up injured at a fight, right?
I mean, Tommy, you know this, and Coach, you know this as well. I mean, you have to practice like you play, correct? And sometimes when you practice MMA, you have to go full out. You know, you have to throw those hard punches. You have to throw those hard kicks. And when you do that, sometimes cuts happen, injuries happen. It's a very balanced sport. But thankfully, we don't do that too much in terms of our practices and everything. So we always stay safe, but those times do happen as well.
So this is going to be a real dumb question, but when you're in the heat of the battle, do you feel every punch?
No, you'd be surprised what adrenaline can do for you.
That's what I'm thinking. Like adrenaline, maybe you feel it, but maybe it's not like it's what we see from the outside. Like, oh my God, that must have really hurt.
So to set the scene real quick, the fight that I got to go to the UFC, I fractured my nose 3 weeks before that fight.
You told me that,
And my wife had to reset it for me, right? So I get my nose reset, I go, I fight for my contract, and then the guy breaks my nose. The first shot he throws was, once again, a broken nose, shattered off to the side and everything. But like in that moment, I saw a little red and my eyes were watering up, but zero pain. Just because your body's in such a fight or flight mode where you can't really feel anything.
Right. And it's tough to breathe through the nose, right?
Well, I mean, if you see my nose these days, it's definitely hard to breathe.
But don't you normally breathe through your nose when you're fighting?
Correct. You always got to breathe through your nose. Yeah, if you start breathing through your mouth, that's when you can hyperventilate, and it's all about breathing, right? So I always like to say in a fight, the person who's more calm, who's more collected, has a better shot of winning.
I tell you guys, especially you big guys, you go in, you put your life in danger.
Well, you do.
I mean, you do. You put your health in danger, you put your life in danger.
One of the things that sticks out to me is that when Austen was talking off the show about, going and working on his hands and all that as a defensive end. We had Randy White back when I was with the Cowboys came in and talked to us about the karate and showed the guys and this and that. And it's a good transition, I would say, to go from football to that if you've been working on that.
Well, look, we all know Trayvon Walker's coming into his own. He's
got a lot of work.
You can't just bull rush every time. So you got to come up with something. And hands are a big, like you said, hips. Hands and hips, being able to move around that block. But this Jaguar defense, man, they are starting to play some good, or they've been playing some really good ball. The story of 2023. How you feel about our Jag?
I mean, I love the Jaguars. It was something to me because they had this year where they had expectations, right? And we talked about this off the air a little bit. It's one thing where if you're an underdog and no one's buying into you, it's easy to go out there and perform well because it's like, hey, it's us against the world, right? But how do you respond when the target is on your back? How do you respond when expectations are there for you? And I think this team so far, through all the these games, has responded pretty dang well. First place in the division, and hopefully going to make a playoff run as well.
A couple hiccups, but I think you gotta, I get so mad with those hiccups, but maybe you shouldn't, because anybody can beat anybody in the NFL, and sometimes you do get beat by 2, 3, 4 scores. It happens.
Nobody's perfect,
Yeah.
and it just comes down. We've said this 100 times, and you know, it comes down to 4 or 5 plays in every game.
Yeah.
If you make them, you win. If they make them, they win.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that you're focused on every single play,
Absolutely.
because you never know which one is going to be that play that makes a difference.
Well, and Coach, and how important is it too? It seems like this team right now in the Jaguars, they've kind of found their flow a little bit, right? And it's happening towards the later part of the season. How important from you being a coach, where it's like, hey, our guys are starting to play some good football now. It's getting towards the playoffs, towards the end of the season. How much do you want to see them play their best football towards the end of the year?
Well, Doug has said it a bunch of times, that you don't want to peak too early, because the game is really won. Now you've got to take care of business to get to this point, but from here on out, every game's a playoff game. So the guys have to get in that mode that it's time now. And we just got to run it through as best we can.
That smooth questioning from Austin Lane.
I know
get back on the radio.
We got to get back on here.
That was smooth. But you talk about emotion, like even with football. You can't go out there with your head cut off. Like flying around, your head on fire. You got to be controlled.
Yes.
Yeah, same with you, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
And I'm always enamored by fighters. Like, you get a fight growing up, so emotional. Everything's emotional, but you guys take the emotion out of it. How do you do that?
Well, it's a lot of practice, and not only physically, but mentally as well. You have to keep in mind, everybody fights for different reasons. Everyone has their own kind of mindset when you step into a cage.
Sure.
Me, I'm always I'm a student of the game, right? I think we in football, we learn to be students of the game as well. If you look at some of the greatest fighters of all time, we're talking about the Anderson Silvas, Khabib comes out to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys, they may be like entertaining on the microphone, or maybe had something about them, but when they got in the cage, they were stone-faced, right? Zero emotion whatsoever. And truth be told, when I played football, I was a guy that was always shouting, I was jumping up and down, trying to cause fights and everything. Like, that was my demeanor, and I tried to take that demeanor to the cage, and it didn't work out. Because I found, like, if you're so emotional, and if you're always, like, high-strung, you lose focus of the task at hand. Right? And I think back at some of the best teammates I ever had, Paz stands out. Darryl Smith, I got to play with Calvin Johnson in Detroit. They all had something in common where they had this quiet demeanor about them, but you always respected it because you always feared it. Right? And that's what I try to take into fighting as well.
That's great, man. Jags winning Monday night?
Oh, yeah.
9-3. I feel it.
Yeah.
Burrow, I wish Burrow was out there, but he's not, so whatever. I think we take care of the Bengals at home.
Just remember this. That quarterback has got the same rating after 3 games. Quarterback rating is our guy, Trevor Lawrence. So, and they do have a championship DNA. They've been there. So this is going to be a good ball game. But hey, iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
You want to play the best going forward, because if you're going to get there, if you're the right team, you're going to play better if you play the tough one. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's what I'm saying next year right now, man. Iron sharpens iron, man. I'm trying to learn some stuff from you guys.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Great to have you on the show,
man.
Best of luck, seriously.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
it. We'll see you again. No doubt. See you out there again. Coach, thanks.
All right.
All right. Check out Austin and Coach's profile at iwannabuzz.com. You see this conversation and many others just by checking out that site. Until next time, y'all stay safe and be cool. We'll see you right here on the Horse's Mouth. Cheers.
The team at Heritage Capital Group is special because it's a collection of people across the spectrum.
We have people who have been in the shoes of owners that are looking to buy and sell, and professionals that have executed transactions helping buy and sell companies for decades.
I think when you talk to us, see what our experience is, see what our skills are, see the reach that we have, you'll be very happy with the recommendation.